Yesterday I had this thing go viral, and I guess people are still interested in Twilight. Who knew? It's I was in the movie. I was really only a small part, except for maybe the first one. I had a little bit to do, but every every movie after that, I was just like basically a set prop. But I guess it's a good time to talk about, if you guys are interested, the biggest realization and takeaway I got from that movie, doing those movies. That being what I really wanted in my life as an artist. Um, I think, you set out in Hollywood to become like a star, and it's this narcissistic endeavor. And then, you start to achieve a little bit, and then you start to realize that what you initially thought you wanted isn't actually at all what's important to you. And that experience, Twilight, what it showed me was what was important to me. What I mean by that is, after the first film was really fun because it was just like an indie film. Everybody was hanging out, I was hanging out with Rob and Kristen, and it was like a party, and after the first one and it blew up, it was absolutely insanity. It became like this cultural phenomenon. I call it the Star Wars for girls. And it really is. It really was. It became that. And when I got to set the second time, it completely changed the dynamic of what we were doing. All of a sudden, there was helicopters flying overhead trying to take pictures of us, paparazzi. And I remember one time we went out to dinner, and Rob had to basically hide in the trunk of his car. Isn't that insane? And we had dinner at a restaurant, but we had to sit in this back private room. And I'm so grateful that I had that experience, because the biggest thing I learned out of that whole time period of my life was, oh, I don't want to be famous. I don't want to basically do this just for people to know who I am. I want to do good work. This art actually that I thought I was doing so that people know who I was actually something I needed to do for my soul. And it made me very conscious of the choices I made after that film. One being that I started doing a lot of more independent films, things that I felt was really important to me, especially in the Asian American arena. I started doing films like Soul Searching and 21 and Over. Not that that's not a commercial film, and I was doing Revenge of the Green Dragons and a movie with the OG Wayne Wang, based off a Chang Rae Lee, short story called Coming Home. And I started to realize that what I actually wanted the entire time was to make art that mattered to me. Maybe it might not matter to everybody, but it mattered to me. It was important to me, and it was important for the purpose that I felt I was on this earth to do, which is to make things from my perspective and things that I find artistically valuable to me. They might not be valuable to you, but I felt like these things were things that I could leave behind, and I'd feel really great about my life when everything was said and done. That's what Twilight taught me. It wasn't that I wanted to make more money or be on the cover of People magazine. It was actually the opposite. And I'm so thankful that I got to have that experience early on, because it was so insightful. I did not want to have to hide in trunks of cars and have to hide from people. Basically, it's your own living jail when you get that famous. You do not own your own life, and it's the trade-off. You get special treatment. You don't need dinner reservations, they'll seat you. People will send you free shit. There's all these perks, but the trade-off is that your life does not belong to you, at least your public life, any longer. And you can complain all you want and you can say it's not fair, but it's what you asked for, whether you were conscious of it or not. And not that I would have become, even if I had tried, that the world would grant me that kind of fame, but what it did grant me was the peek behind the curtain of what that would be. And I really did not want that in my life. I really think both Kristen and Rob was able to really use that money and fame to make incredible work. They both did independent films that were not popular and worked on their craft and made films that mattered to them. And now, because they did the hard work, they can do whatever they want. They can play Batman, they can make their own films, but it does not negate the fact that they cannot walk out in public and just like make a video like this, like I am, in a public space. It's just not possible. But that was something I feel very, very grateful and fortunate about. You know, I'm now in my 40s and I've gotten to make so much beautiful art in my life. You know, making films like Blue Bayou and Gook, super personal, especially in the Asian American space. You know, Blue Bayou dealt with something that's so right now pertinent and relevant is the deportation, you know, crisis. And regardless of what your political views are, you know, that was about an adoptee, Korean adoptee that got adopted by an American family that didn't have any say, and just because the paperwork got messed up, was getting deported. I don't make a judgment on it, I just present the argument. And then Gook was about the LA riots and about African American and Korean American relationships during that time. That is incredibly pertinent and wonderful that I got to make those films. Had nothing to do with being popular, had everything to do with what mattered to me. So for that, I am eternally grateful to doing the movie Twilight and for playing that character, Eric Yorkie, and saying, "La push, baby, it's La push." And also being like, "It's a worm," which, by the way, was not in the script. And Kristen's reaction to that was genuine. She did not expect me to put a worm in her face while she was walking past. I could have got fired. I could have gotten fired, but I didn't. I'm still here, and I'm still making films. Thank you for listening to me ramble, and this is I'm so thankful for this, because this has become like such a beautiful outlet for me while I'm here in Russia in between projects. And I'm gonna continue to do this. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.